Hi there and welcome to the channel. I'm Slate and today we are back with Builder Jam. We are going to be looking at none other than the limited mage herself, Anora. So Anora is an AoE burst mage. She summons this little dragon thing. It's called Labor and it inherits 100% of the master's attributes and assists the master, which is Anora, in attacking enemies in range. Each attack deals 90% AoE damage up to 8 enemies. She is cultist esoteric and she is a limited hero, which means you can only get her when they run her banner or one of these choice limited hero banners. Now, the other thing to note is that she does have a bond skill with Ymrit, who is the unnameable dragon, and for her, it allows her to have something called Labor Ice, which basically means that it increases the damage. And instead of that 80% AoE is 110% AoE up to 8 enemies with a 30% chance to inflict this Winter's Bite. And then if we go over to Ymrit, essentially the bond skill that Ymrit gets from Anora is that there is a 20% chance to inflict an extra stack of Winter's Bite. And the other thing is that when he receives fatal damage for the first time, he transforms into a little dragon egg, which basically essentially gives him a chance at second life. However, you can kill that second life egg, if that makes sense. So yeah, anyway, there is quite a strong bond skill for both of them, to be completely honest. And Anora's damage definitely improves if you do have a Ymrit. Now, in terms of her basic attack, it is a general 5 enemies within her range. She's got a very standard mage range. Her ultimate is when it is this burst damage that the dragon comes down and goes kaboom, and it's really quite nice actually, burst damage. And then the other thing is that she does have this noxious breath debuff in her kit, which deals 20% magic damage per second up to 8 enemies in range. It's sort of similar to how I described the Vienna sort of AoE circle, and the fact that it lets you have a bit of continuous magic damage happening. And then the other passive that she has is that she increases damage increase to other allied summons. So if you have her on the field and you're also running, say, a Valise, then that can help too. Now, the really interesting thing about Anora, which makes her both great in some respects and a little bit awkward in others, is the fact that she cannot receive buffs or debuffs. So obviously it's great, can't get debuffed, that's lovely, that sounds great, but the inability to get buff means she's not going to gain any boost from putting invigoration on her. She's not going to do anything if there's an inspiration effect going. She doesn't get the Dao Chen penetration, and that really, I would say, is a knock against her abilities. Now, I will say this, she's a pretty decent burst damage mage, and for a very long time she was meta in GVG teams because of the burst damage. In terms of her awakenings, I would say that essentially her A3 is really nice as it ignores the 20%. Her A1 is the sort of the big one because it then inflicts this immobilized state, which stops your enemies, which is really lovely. And then obviously her A5 is pretty decent as well in boosting her damage. But I think the main thing is that Anora Bonded definitely has an increase with this Labor Ice instead of Labor in terms of her damage output. Before we go quickly on how to build her, just one other thing to know is that even though I think she's sort of fallen out of favor, I do still think she is a fantastic mage. If you compare her to some of the other burst damage mages that you've got, I think she can sort of hold her own, again, especially if she is bonded. So in terms of her skills, I would definitely say she benefits from having her ultimate done. I think the passive, this Calamity's Whisper with the Noxious Breath, is a really nice one as well. Again, the Labor, all of her basically, they're all worth skilling up if you are planning to use her as your AoE burst mage. Now, in terms of where she shines in terms of content, it's going to be Gear Raid 1, she's really nice in. Gear Raid 2, she can definitely be your primary if you're breaking into the 19s, 20s, 21s. I'm not sure she necessarily... I just think she can do the higher ups if you have her like awakened and everything, but typically you end up using other heroes instead. She could help you with progression with Gear Raid 3, but she's not going to be making it into any teams because of her limited range. It's very awkward. And then in terms of the Gear Dungeons, she's not really built for Gear Dungeon 2. She is okay in Gear Dungeon 1 if you are, again, relying on that magic DPS with the double tank anti-heal strat. Now, in terms of other things that she can be helpful for, she's not going to be good in the boss content, but I think if you are breaking into the new matrix, you can use her because she does have burst damage, but she isn't, again, making any meta lineups. I think that's the main thing with Anora, is in a way she sort of reminds me of a Comet in the fact that she is just solid AoE damage, difference being that Comet is sort of like an extended ultimate, whereas Anora is this high burst DPS. In terms of a build overview for Anora, she's going to be DPS, so we are absolutely going to be looking at pumping that attack stat, making sure she is crit capped, making sure she is going nice and fast, and then also making sure her crit damage is there. You can put some stuff into rage regen. HP will depend on the survivability, but essentially that is what we're going to be focusing on, is a general DPS build. And then in terms of her artifact, she does have an exclusive which increases her attack by 20%, and then after she casts her ultimate, Labor's AoE damage permanently increases by 5%, stacking up to 3 times. That's a 15% damage boost, and then it also allows her to restore rage. Now, I definitely think this is her best in slot. If we look at a Tear of Twilight, it is increased by 30%, but if you are able to get that ultimate off, that 15% takes it to 35%, and so that is quite nice. But if you don't have a maxed out scepter, I would go for a maxed out Tear of Twilight if that's what you're doing. And obviously if you are using her in progression, then you can try her in a white tower trinket or everyone's favorite attack boost, and that is the Keen Wisdom itself. In terms of gear, on the right hand side, it's very interesting. You would think with her damage that you would want to put her in Soulbound Arcana, but actually she is one of the few heroes that benefits a lot more and does significantly better in Infernal Roar. So definitely looking for attack bonus with crit rate, attack speed, crit damage. Ideally flat attack. If you've got that quad, great. If not, again, we're going for that rage regen or HP bonus on the sort of fourth stat. And you really want to just try and get her in all attack bonus if you can. And then on the left hand side, I would definitely say it depends what your best in slot is. If you've got Wicked Vengeance, it is really, really nice. And otherwise, Warlord is going to be your choice. But again, the reason we love Wicked Vengeance so much is that you can get these quad pieces, which is just, we love it. We love it. We love it. We love it. Maybe they will bring out some exclusive Warlord, and then that would be an interesting thing to see. So yeah, as you can see, this is a pretty, late endgame build. We've got her attack to 21,000. She is running at 470 with a 1.8 second attack interval, 130% crit rate, completely overcapped, but that you could definitely go back and remove crit rate from one of the pieces and bring in another attack stat. Typically, you tend to go for an attack, a chest, a critless chest is what they call it. So you go for attack bonus, crit damage, attack speed, and flat attack on the chest, like so. And then, yeah, she's still crit capped. And as you can see, that just sort of brings her attack up and her crit damage even higher, 107 still, and then 314 on the crit damage with, that kind of stuff. But of course, if you are progressing and you do not have this, we're going to always go broken. But the other thing I would say that is quite nice on her actually is Curse, although I still stand by the fact that broken is best. So yeah, and again, we are looking for all attack bonus with crit rate, everything there. And then on the left-hand side, you're going to be going for Calamity. Where is it? Here. And just, putting her into something like that. Where's one with crit? That would be nice. There we go. And then, yeah, you can still see she's got very high attack. And of course, like I said, if it's broken, absolutely no problem. And then as well, the artifacts and everything is, if you've got a maxed out scepter of hers, that's great. Otherwise, Tear of Twilight is going to be her best in slot. I think that's the main thing to say about Anora in terms of whether or not she is worth summoning for as a limited hero. I think the thing comes down to whether or not you have her on your account or not. In my opinion, I do believe that going and collecting the limiteds is a good idea, but I wouldn't necessarily summon on her if you already have her and are looking for awakenings, because typically awakenings tend to be for when you're focusing on PvP content such as Arena and GVG. And like I said, unfortunately, she has fallen out of favor in GVG in the last couple seasons. So she's not really going to help you very much there. And so I don't think she's necessarily worth your summons from that respect. But if you have have no Anora, I think having an Anora is better than no Anora. And she's also really nice, actually. One last thing I forgot to say, she's really nice in the Malriks Halls of Illusion, the Mossy Stones. So yeah, because she's one of the few mages that has this what I call vortex extended range, it actually really helps in content like this where you're trying to make a broader area of effect and cover 2 lanes. The other hero that can do this off the top of my head is Akame A3, but you know, even though my Nora is A3, it is her basic ultimate range, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And like I said, you can see this is how the little dragon attacks. He does change color if you have him bonded with Ymrit versus a non-bonded. So yeah, that is everything all about Anora. She is a lovely burst AoE mage who is a solid addition to your account. She has a lovely bond skill with the unnameable Ymrit, her little dragon counterpart, and she is there as well. Oh, one last thing to say is that her summons do not get eaten by Ezreus. You don't have to worry. Labor is considered a special summon, so it doesn't affect it. She also does have this lovely Chinese New Year skin, which I really like, actually. So yeah, anyway, let me know in the comments below. Do you have Anora? Do you like using Anora? What do you think of this burst AoE mage? And let me know of the next hero you would like me to cover in this series. Thank you so much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you in the next video and the next live stream. So until then, take care and bye for now.